Holy crap, we're not dead. Subscribe and click on the notification icon so you know when we actually release content.
Get a little harder!
So, LaughingMan, what do you feel like talking about?
Oh god, I just don't fucking know.
Net neutrality?
I'm kind of neutral on it.
Star Wars The Last Jedi?
I gave my last fuck.
Disney becoming a monopoly?
Didn't pass go.
Hollywood sex scandals?
I could use the don't give a fuck joke again, but
It'd be too forced.
The Force Awakens.
Well, you read any good books lately? Okay, so LaughingMan and I have been kind of quiet this past month, but that's because we were reading this book that we both started, called Dangerous Personalities by Joe Navarro.
Ex-FBI profiler Joe Navarro.
A guy who knows what he's talking about when it comes to profiling people. And oh my god, does it not have one hell of an explanation as to why bitches nowadays be crazy.
Yes, especially with social media, but we'll get into that in a bit.
And we're going to be talking mostly about how SJWs are like this, but it could apply to either side, really.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the right side has its fair share of the paranoids and the narcissists, but first things first, we can't be armchair psychologists or profilers. I have a friend who had a bitter divorce from a histrionic woman, so I gave him a copy of Navarro's book on histrionic personality disorder, and now every single woman he meets is a histrionic. I mean, he'd be sitting in a fucking restaurant and be like, hey, the waitress, you see her? I think she's a histrionic. I'm like, no, you motherfucker, she's trying to get tips. But it's a handy little guide for basically why social justice and especially social media is fueling some of this fucking madness. Chimeth polyhapatia, that's a mouthful. Sorry, all of our viewers in India, all maybe 0.1 of you. He basically says that social media is starting to erode the social fabric of society because it exploits natural tendencies to want feedback. And when you get feedback for making a statement and, you know, it's positive feedback, you get that dopamine rush, which creates an addiction. And from my own theory, social media and the internet have created this panopticon where we're all in a prison that we can't see, where we're all being watched at all times and we're being judged in the court of public opinions. It's a literal incubator for narcissism and paranoia, because it's like, oh, the internet clickbait tells me that there's enemies everywhere, but I'm going to show you that I'm virtuous and I'm willing to fight them.
Ah, brave new world that has such putzes in it.
We're going to be covering paranoid personalities first, and the header underneath, you know, the section paranoid personalities in the book is opinionated, argumentative, prone to hate.
Wow, that sums it all up, doesn't it?
They think their hypersensitivity is a form of superior insight, so there's no room for debate with them. Logical or even empirical proof to them is meaningless. Try to reason with them and you may be seen as a conspirator working against them, or worse, as an enemy. Paranoid personalities select and distort facts and history, stringing together disparate events and ideas to fit their views and justify their actions.
Wow, that is a nice little nutshell.
No, but I mean, to be fair, a lot of the big SJW personalities that you do see, you know, who are prominent on Twitter, it is just a form of virtue signaling, and a lot of these people are just paranoid.
Yeah, they're paranoid of being judged in the court of public opinion. Again, it goes back to my theory, but these are just my thoughts. I mean, don't take whatever I say as gospel truth. I mean, my fucking middle name is Dunning-Kruger, so go from there.
Reading that, the first thing that sprang to mind was how a lot of leftists were publishing articles, do you remember, saying stuff like, oh, science is too racist, we shouldn't conform to scientific facts.
Biology is sexist.
Exactly. It's time to give up on facts and focus on feelings. That was an actual article.
Yeah, well, there's also an article that says, oh, this Star Wars movie that came out, the Last Jedi, is finally there's a strong female character in Star Wars. It's like, you motherfuckers, have you never watched any of them? So yeah, there's definitely a lot of clickbait going on here, and it's feeding into this panopticon.
And then, going back onto this book, they say that the paranoid personality's mind is skewed, rigid, moralistic, or unyielding, and it allows them to justify committing horrible acts of violence, which is why you get groups like Antifa, who go around and use just made-up bullshit to justify them smashing buildings and hitting people over the head with bike locks and spraying innocent women in the eyes for just saying their opinions. And you just look at it and you think that it's just disgusting, but it's because these thoughts And this paranoia is so ingrained into their minds that they perceive everything else as a danger to them. Next quote. This personality tends to know a lot about very little, fixating on a narrow idea, passage of the Bible, or a legal, social, political issue that may be of little or no consequence to most of us. Sexism in video games, anyone?
No shit.
Paranoid personalities are not sticklers for logic or empirical evidence. They will cite dubious or obscure examples from history, esoteric works, unknown authors, or even law dictionaries to support their arguments. Combine rigid thinking, a fixed ideology, and selective memory with a rational fear, and you have a toxic broth of hate. Not the dislike that you or I might feel, but an uncompromising, dehumanizing hate.
And dehumanizing is the fucking key word. Because,
Yes.
These people are saying, oh, if you have the wrong think, then you are not a human. I mean, they treat people like, the whole punch a Nazi thing. Well, the problem is they're seeing Nazis everywhere. Everybody is a Nazi, and that gives everyone an excuse to dehumanize the opposition and then be able to excuse the violence against them.
And, there's also other groups and other people out there that you just think, this person doesn't dislike this group. They out and out hate them. Feminists who just come out and say, yeah, we hate men. # kill all men. If I was in power, I'd put all men in a concentration camp.
But they're not being sexist because, feminism is about equality. I mean, feminism is about quality, Natalie. That's why the big boogeyman is named after men.
Again, like this book says, add pathological narcissism to the mix and you have people willing and able to act on their hatred with horrific cruelty.
Fuck Donald Trump, nigga. Fuck white people, boy. Fuck them, bitch.
Social media and the internet, as many joys as it brings everybody, it does also have the dark side of giving everyone a platform where, everybody thinks that they're a fucking reality TV show star and they air everything, absolutely everything, just to feed their own egos. And the worst part is that narcissists tend to attract the paranoids, and this creates a cult-like behavior where the paranoids are scared to death because a narcissistic personality tells them there's a big bad boogeyman after them.
For many of these paranoid personalities, violence becomes the solution because nothing else will achieve their out-of-bounds aims or do so fast enough for them.
Right. It's the exact same thing with those teenagers you're talking about. Kidnapping and torturing an autistic kid will not stop Donald Trump from being elected.
But when they set their sights on a target that they can't actually physically harm, they'll just take to Twitter and send them death threats. Cue the recent case of the porn star August Ames, who committed suicide because of the bullying that she was getting. Because, get this, she didn't want to have sex with someone.
Yeah, apparently she committed suicide because social media condemned her for her refusal to work with gay actors. And her exact quote was, not homophobic, most girls just don't shoot with guys who have shot gay porn for safety. So I imagine there's, health concerns.
And since when do feminists go on a witch hunt after a woman because of who she chooses to have sex with? Isn't it her body, her choice? Imagine the can of worms that would be opened if the porn industry required you to have sex with whoever they choose for you to have sex with in that scene.
Yeah, we on Twitter are gonna make you have sex with somebody against your will.
Yeah, they go on about how guys pressuring girls to sleep with them is rape. Well, what if it's a third party doing it?
But again, there's a suppression Olympics now. That's why. It's because certain people's feelings have to be considered. It's not her body, her choice under certain circumstances. And apparently feelings of gays are higher than the rights of women to not be raped on camera.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that these people think that they have the moral high ground to tell somebody to kill themselves because they didn't want to have sex with someone. And now that woman is dead because she was tried in the court of social justice, and these Twitter users are the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
Right, and she even tweeted, how am I homophobic if I myself am attracted to women? She was by herself. It's just that, like you said, a lot of girls don't like having sex with gay guys. So, again, it was her body and her choice, but she made the wrong choice, Nat. She made the wrong choice, and that's why she's the enemy.
And then to move on from that, another quote from the book, the next section describes paranoid personalities as wound collectors and grudge holders. The paranoid personality, much like the emotionally unstable personality, is a perennial wound collector, only more so. Any innocent mistake or perceived wrong, no matter how unintentional, becomes a black mark on your character and an indicator of your disloyalty. No transgression, including those that you didn't do, will be forgotten or forgiven. Once you're the enemy, the paranoid person will feel justified in holding grudges or taking action against you, be it avoiding you, backstabbing you, plotting against you, sabotaging or destroying things that belong to you, or in some cases, killing you.
Wow, pronouns, anyone?
Which is why a lot of groups will advocate disadvantaging other groups because of wrongs that were done hundreds of years ago. The book says, for paranoid personalities, wound collecting is a necessity. They use it to justify their actions, and there's no statute of limitations on how far back they'll reach to collect those wounds, nor how wide a net they will cast. They're just using it to justify whatever actions that they take. It's like the ideology doesn't come before the hatred. The hatred comes first, and then they use the ideology to justify that hatred and acting on it. And I honestly think that it is that these hateful personalities, because I mean, you look at these people who claim that they're for the good of society, for the good of all humankind, and then they just seem like the most hateful people, the most spiteful that you would ever see in your entire life.
But again, they're self-hating, so they have to destroy everyone else around them to make themselves feel better.
Yes, the personality has fantastic recall of adversarial situations, historical wrongs, and social slights. These collected wounds feed their paranoia and justify their hatred and behavior. And moving on from that, the next section of the book, which talks about their effect on you, says, let's be clear, paranoid personalities will suck the joy out of your life. They will make you... They will make you tense, worried, irritable, and edgy.
I just pictured Joe Navarro with a fucking crystal ball, but I mean, that's not the case.
You see, you must view and fear their enemies as they do, otherwise, in their opinion, there is something wrong with you. You can't relax around them, and if they perceive you as disloyal, they'll take out their contempt or anger on you. Your wishes and desires are of no concern as you quickly learn they have a one-track mind or a single fixation. They'll air their grievances at work, on vacation, in line at the lunch counter, anytime they see opportunity. Conversations devolve into diatribes, even compliments can rouse their suspicions. They can force you to change the way you live, making you constantly adapt to that foreboding world they fear.
Constantly adapt. The goalpost keeps changing. This hierarchy of oppression keeps fucking changing depending on whatever's trendy. In California, it's now no longer a felony to knowingly spread AIDS to other people. Feelings have defeated all rationality and self-preservation. I mean, Jesus Christ, its next domino in the oppression Olympics will be disease-based. I guarantee you. I can't wait for SJWs to break into biohazard labs just to get a fashionable disease. It's like, oh my god, I'm so oppressed. I'm a non-heteronormative, genderqueer dragonkin with autism, hepatitis C, and now syphilis. And it's like, bitch, please, I have leprosy. I'm way more oppressed than you. I mean, it's gonna be the equivalent of a real-life Walking Dead / Game of Thrones crossover where you have a bunch of rotting SJWs moaning like zombies going, shame, shame. And you know what? Not to quote August Ames' last tweet, but fuck y'all.
Well, I mean, there already was a movement. It was on Twitter, an STD Pride.
Oh, Jesus Christ, it's happening. Lock your doors, everybody. It's like that Plague Inc. game. They should honestly have a pathogen in that game that says SJW based. It just spread like wildfire.
Well, I mean, just look at the whole Jordan Peterson case, because he refused to have to call somebody by their pronouns because he didn't want to. And because he didn't want to, he got ostracized.
Yeah, and in some places, it's a fucking crime, like a genuine hate crime, call someone by the wrong pronoun.
I mean, fucking hell, I call women he and men she, like, all the time just for a fucking accident, you know, because I'm a fast talker and all.
Well, I mean, if you meet someone on the streets, how the fuck are you supposed to know what their pronouns are?
I know, they'd have to declare it or wear some kind of badge, hashtag Nazi Germany.
This is what it means when we swing on your brother.
There are 7 million mentally ill and emotionally disturbed children in America.
Oh, we should film